See, those little brackets are already coming in handy. I just got one screwed here because I had 2 1/8 inch. Here's the risers, and it's 2 1/8 off of the bottom of the 4x12. And so I put another one there. That way I can hold it up there. This will be a 2x6 going across here, and I can make it touch the wood, the particle board, or not. See, like this last one was close to it. See, this one right here goes right to it, so I can measure right to that and push that in, and that'll kind of help that, and it will go right here, and it's flush. It's flush right along there now, see, because I notched that in there. And right now I took my level and I thought I'm gonna check the level, and I put the level across here like that, because you want these big stairs either level or just off a little bit going downhill. And right now, if I were to do it, it's going back the wrong direction. And I knew this here had to be lifted up anyways. But I can push the plywood. Remember, this was flush. See how it's hanging down? Well, when I push that, it'll go up. I already tried it with both hands. And this can push up, and I'll push this all the way up to the metal. And then I'll put a 2x6 underneath this bottom edge, going all the way down to the ground, and that'll hold that. That'll hold this up. See, like that. Okay. So I've got to measure this. I'll cut my 2x6, and I'm going to pre-drill some holes into the edge of the 2x6 and get it ready. Set it up on top of here, measure it, and see that the 2x6 from this point up, because this has already been framed and it's all here and the stucco's here, that 2x6 I don't want any higher than this metal, and I don't think it's going to be. See, from that point down to 5.5, and see I got 5 3/4 to that pencil mark right there. From there I got 5 3/4. So if anything, I could raise it slightly up if I wanted to, or not. Once I put it up in there, I'll check it out, because lots of these were low. See this one here? That was low there. I couldn't push it down on there because I had to push it up to fit it on top of the metal on this last one. So if anything, I might raise this up, and if I have to, and if I do, I do. I mean, I could keep it exactly where it is and have a little gap just like this one. All of them had gaps, but I went ahead and filled them up. And see, after I get this one up in there, whatever gap I have here, I'll fill that up with construction adhesive. I won't do it on this piece, because this piece eventually it's all rotted out. I'm going to probably cut that back to here, straight down, and then I'll build the 2x6 coming up this way, scab it along the side there. But for right now, it sort of was helping, I thought, but it's really not, because see, it's not even touching it right now. But it kind of helped me finagle this in. Okay, so one step at a time. I'll get this, and it'll look like I was never here. Did you catch that? I was measuring that 5 3/4, and I kind of explained it to you wrong. So if I measure from there down, it's 5 3/4, but it's not going to be once I push this up to the bottom of that. See there, I have at least 1/4 inch, so that's going to be real close to 5.5 inches, right up to the bottom of that once I put that riser on. And then once I raise that up, and I'll be able to push that up, this will give a slight slope downhill on this side. I'm not sure what's going to happen on that side. I'll have to look at that, because see, once I tilt this side up, that front lowers down, see, and so I'll look at that and measure that before I get it all secure. I may even have to put a shim in it or something, because I want this step, I don't want it to be sloping back hill because it's so big. I want that water, when it hits on here, I want it to flow downhill. Okay. As for all the other steps, some of them are level, some of them are sloping down just barely, and you know, I'm just going to have to live with whatever it is. Let's just talk a little bit more about these stairs. Once I scrape everything off, I'm going to refloat this with some material that'll cover up all that. And then I can check with my level and see if these are sloping downhill. If they're not sloping downhill, when I put this material on there, I can build this up just barely up on this side and taper it down to nothing. Just a little bit high, taper it down to nothing. If I'm going to work on all these steps, I'm going to probably end up doing that. So there's different things at the hardware store that you can get, yeah, because I not only want to get these smooth, I want to make sure that the water's going to come off them, that the water's not going to just sit there and puddle and try to eat through stuff. And so I'll have to go to the store. I've already gone to the store once to look at this stuff. It's kind of like Fix-All. It's not Fix-All, but it's something else that will give you a smooth finish, and I can put it on there with a putty knife, some trowels or something, and I think it'll bond really good too, and it won't crack out or anything like that. Then I'll have to put a sealer on top of that, repaint them on top of that. So yeah, I've got a little bit of work to do on these stairs after the fact. But back to the project, I just kind of wanted to mention that to you. If you have steps this big, and if you got somebody getting ready to build them for you, and they're 4x12s like this, and if you don't have anywhere underneath the deck, if this deck was open, I wouldn't worry about it, because then the water would just float down and go down underneath. But if you're trying to seal everything up, because we don't want any water in there, because see, here's the outside. See, it's all stuccoed. See there? You can't get in there. The stucco goes all the way down. See? So that's why I've got to make sure that when I float those out, I make special attention to make sure that when water sits on here, it's actually going to float on downhill. Okay? Alright, back to my project. I'm just going to make some more little L brackets like this, okay, out of this track. And this track comes 10 foot long at the store, so I brought my tin snips when I went to the store, and I just cut the track in half and brought both pieces home. That way I could fit it in the back of the truck. It's got a small bed, and that was just an easy way to do it. So I'm just going to take my 10 snips. This is 25 gauge material, and I don't have to measure it or anything, and I just eyeball straight down from that and cut. Fold that up. I put my foot on here because as I cut, it's easier to kind of pull this little piece up. See? And it's got a lip. When I'm cutting track for a commercial job, I would just flatten that back down. But, you know, with the hammer on the concrete, but I don't want to do that out here. Mess up my stone. So I'm just gonna cut that off. It's real difficult. It's almost virtually impossible to cut this a straight piece on the back side. As you fold this up, you don't have to you don't have to cut this straight because you can't get it in there. So I just cut it off a little bit. Now if that was a metal stud, I would just take that and boom, pop it on the ground and leave it. Now I can just take that and cut that in half. Okay, there, I got 8 more. I've got another one in there too. And then I'm just going to take my scratch awl and pop some holes in it to make it easier to put the screws in. All right. It'll make it easier for me to start my screws. I mean, you can still do it without it. But if you're up in a funky angle, like some of the ones I'm going to be, it's going to be trickier to hold my mouth just right and get my drill up above my head and all that. Okay. Like I say, those other brackets were like 50 cents or more, and I don't know how much that track was. 10-foot piece, probably $4 or $5 for that whole thing. And I can use the metal for all kinds of different things, and it's easy to store and all that. So think about it next time you're at the hardware store. Not all hardware stores sell track or metal studs, but check yours out and go from there. Here's a tip for you when you're measuring, to measure all the way in there. If you're having a hard time guessing, see, I would have measured 65 and maybe a short half. But you can hold your tape measure all the way up there and push on it and read the front of it is 62. I'm reading the front of it as 62, and every single tape measure is different. And somewhere on here there's something that says add. And it's right here. It's hard to see. It says 3.5 inches. And you look on most tape measures, some of them might be 3 inches, depending on how big your tape measure body is. And some could be 2.5, 3 inches, 3.5. This one actually says 3.5. So when I pull this out, and whatever I read on the front, say if I'm right at 27, okay? Say I'm at 27, then you add 3.5 inches, so that would be 30.5, and that would get you exactly from tip to tip. Okay, and there's a tip for you when reading tape measures.